One day in the future, a genetic virus will take over the whole world. The infected will see their human bones and appearance change. The hair and scales of animals will grow slowly until their human feelings are completely lost and they become a beast. These include a bird with wings, a creature wearing armor that covers its scales, and a large-bodied spider monster. Today, I will bring you an extreme style and profound French science fiction movie, Animal Kingdom, which was nominated for the Cannes Film Festival in 1923. It also won the 24th French César Film Awards and the 14th International Film Festival, marking it as a high-level, anticipated science fiction family drama. At the beginning of the story, Émile and his father are on their way to the monster shelter to visit the mother who has been mutated into a monster. At the moment, due to the frequent attacks of mutated people on humans, traffic jams have become more and more common. Émile, who is in a bad mood, is now more troubled because his mother often hurt him after mutating, so he doesn't want to see the mother who has lost her human consciousness again. No matter how his father drives, Émile finally gets off the car. "Listen, we have an appointment. We're both going. I don't want to discuss it with you." While the father and son were talking, a strange knocking sound came from the medical car of the person who escorted the mutants. As the knocking became more and more intense, a bird with a full body of feathers broke through the car door and came out. Scared, the father and son quickly hid aside. The medical staff hurriedly wanted to tame him, but the mutants were so powerful that ordinary humans were no match at all. In an instant, a medical staff was kicked out of the hospital. The father and son, who were scared to death by this scene, were locked in a corner. Then, a captain who looked like an old eagle appeared in front of them. Watching the bird fly far away, the father breathed a sigh of relief. It turns out that in the future, a mysterious virus will spread all over the world, and the infected will gradually lose the form of human beings and eventually turn into an animal. Not long ago, Émile's mother was unfortunately infected with this disease. The father and son came to the shelter where her mother was. Émile saw a lot of marks on the wall. He thought his mother had become an animal and had lost her humanity, so he didn't want to talk to her mother. Her mother looked back silently and looked at her son. The meeting ended like this. The doctor said that her mother's condition was basically stable, but as the number of patients continued to increase, the current patients were about to be transferred to a hospital in the south. In order to visit his wife more conveniently, the father moved to the south first. Émile also changed to a new school. In order to avoid being discriminated against by his classmates, when Émile introduced himself, he lied that his mother had passed away. At this time, his father received a call from the police and was told that a truck transferring the patients was in a car accident. The truck fell into the lake from the hillside. More than 40 patients in the car were seriously injured, and his mother was missing. At night, his father hung his clothes outside, hoping that his wife would find them by smell. But Émile resisted, thinking that his mother had forgotten them long ago. The next day, Émile participated in a tug-of-war at school. Émile, who was originally depressed, actually pulled the other 4 people alone this time. Émile realized his change. Before class, he hurried back home and pulled out an animal's nail from under his broken nails. He knew that he was also infected with a mutated virus, and even his spine became more prominent. A kind of sadness that never ends. He lay in the bathtub, trying to get rid of all the mutated characteristics on his body. At night, he attended a class reunion. Émile drank a lot of wine in order to immerse the classmates. As a result, he fell down without sitting still. The female classmates quickly gave her some decoction. Émile couldn't control himself and actually licked her with his tongue. Manon? Yes, it's exactly the same. It's always her. It doesn't change anything. The father never cares about her appearance. He always loves her. Even if she becomes a monster, it won't change their relationship. In fact, Émile wants to know if he's transformed into a monster and lost in the forest, will his father look for him like that? His father is also very happy. This time, his son didn't resist his mother. He was a sensible shout to his mother. Who else?
Mama.
the father and son looked for a night in the forest. The next day, the father got out of the car alone. Suddenly, he saw a child who had turned into a colored dragon. At the moment, he was shocked. A bird flew toward him from the sky. The bird waved its sharp claws and caught Émile's arm. The intense pain made him unable to hold his feet. The bird suddenly found that Émile was a little familiar. They met on the street. At this time, Émile's father arrived at the scene, holding a wooden stick to drive the bird away and take the injured Émile out of danger. This experience made Émile aware that he may also become an animal one day in the future. He decided to adapt to the jungle life in advance. So, Émile caught a few fish from the pond and went back to the place where he saw the bird last time. At this time, the bird is practicing flying, but he fell all over his body, still unable to control the flight. Émile put the fish in front of the bird. The bird caught the fish and swallowed it. Émile wants to make friends with the bird. It's a pity that the bird even forgot his name. Émile brought the bird to the edge of the lake, cleaning the branches floating on the lake. There is only a dead tree on the lake. It can be used as a starting platform to let the bird practice flying safely. Seeing Émile so hard, the bird gradually gave up on him. Émile on his way home found himself more and more difficult to keep his balance. He luckily threw his bike into the forest, walking home. When his father was working in the restaurant, he found the backyard refrigerator opened. There are all kinds of foods scattered on the ground. When he reorganized the refrigerator, the clothes in the back moved. It seems to be hiding something. His father thought it might be his wife, but when he was about to get close, a patient who had been transformed into an ocean creature came out of the shadow, going to knock him down. At the critical moment, the restaurant owner came and stopped the ocean creature. It turns out this monster is the sister of the owner and has been hidden in the restaurant. Later, the father ran to the forest, shouting out the name of his wife. At the entrance of the forest, he saw her. She's completely turned into a bear. The wife stood quietly on the spot. She heard a roar after seeing her husband. The father was scared and shocked. He took a step back subconsciously. It was this step that completely crushed her mother's last hope. She realized what she looked like now, that she couldn't be accepted by her husband anymore, so she chose to leave. Her father is very regretful. He took his friends back to the forest in the middle of the night. Although he didn't find his mother, he did find Émile's abandoned bicycle in a grassland. His father went home in a hurry. When cleaning the clogged wash basin, he found some animal claws wrapped in fur again. That's when he realized his son may also be infected with a variant virus. Wait for Émile to come home, he took out his claws and kissed Émile.
Émile refused to let his father check, and his father took out a bicycle and asked him to ride it, but Émile knew that he could no longer keep his balance, and he still chose to avoid it. Émile saw that his father had guessed that he would change, and in order to prevent his father from being sent to the shelter, he tried to run away, but his father held him in his arms. His father did not force Émile to be treated, but decided to help his son hide his illness. Every day, he cut his nails and trimmed the hair that had been growing, and he also prepared earplugs to relieve his son's sensitivity to sound. The father and son continued to live in fear. Émile still visited the Birdman every day, but this time he found that the Birdman had forgotten how to speak. But at the same time, the Birdman finally learned to fly. He jumped from the tree to the moon, and when he was about to touch the ground, he used his power to move his wings. Émile looked at his friend in the sky and cried happily for him. When he returned home, his father found that Émile did not cut his nails according to their agreement. In order to prevent his son from being caught, his father picked up a big scissors and prepared to cut them immediately, but Émile refused. "If we catch you, it's over. You'll be alone. Do you understand that? Then he'll be alone." In the end, the father realized that he had been forcing his son's choice. Maybe it's not what Émile really wants. So he put down the scissors and let Émile make the decision himself. Émile came to the reunion with his classmates in a depressed mood. His best female classmate took him alone into the field. The female classmate found Émile's back hair and protruding spine, but she didn't say anything because she had already guessed that Émile was sick. But this scene was seen by another male classmate. When Émile went back to the bathroom, the male classmate quietly took out a toy that could make a high-pitched sound. This sound is almost senseless to human ears, but it is very exciting for animal ears. Émile immediately covered his ears in pain, but in the end, he lost his mind and attacked this classmate. Émile escaped from the scene of the reunion in a panic. Soon, a large group of policemen rushed to the area. They stepped on the high-pitched gun and held the bullet gun, searching for the mutants in the cornfield. Émile could only run in the direction of the forest, which might be his only safe place. At this critical moment, the Birdman, like a hero of the sky, rushed out and knocked down a hunter. He flew to the front to lead Émile to continue running. Unfortunately, under the pursuit of a large group of hunters, the Birdman was hit by a bullet and fell in front of Émile. Émile looked at his friend in the sky and cried happily for him.
Émile ran for a long time. Finally, he found the fallen Birdman in the forest. The Birdman saw his brother safe and sound. After a smile, he closed his eyes forever. Just as Émile was immersed in despair, the hunter's footsteps became closer and closer. He had to leave the Birdman and continue to run deep into the forest. After the hunters found the Birdman's body, they stopped searching. Émile stayed in the Birdman's nest. He ate fruit when he was hungry and drank water when he was thirsty. During this period of time in the forest, his body changed more and more clearly. He began to show the instinct of catching birds. His skills also became more and more agile. He probably guessed that he would soon become a dog-eating animal. When Émile began to explore in the forest, he found a bear's footprint. He followed the footprint and finally came to a cave. He hid in the cave and slept on the rock. The next day, Émile was woken by a bear's footsteps. He looked out of the cave and saw a huge bear walking towards the cave. Émile knew that the bear was his mother. She found this place through Émile's scent. Even though she had transformed into a bear, her mother's consciousness was still not completely lost. She just wanted to see her son. She wanted to see him for the last time. Then she turned around and left. Émile wanted to chase his mother. He ended up in the deepest part of the forest. There were all kinds of mutants here. The owner's sister was the ocean creature. Everyone lived in this outdoor paradise in harmony. But at this time, the animals in the forest seemed to be frightened. Then, several vultures were thrown into this forest. The strong smoke was slowly seen. Apparently, the police had found this place and they started to arrest the mutants. The high-pitched voice was heard again. All the mutants began to lose their power. The police began to arrest them one by one. Émile's mother passed by her. She quickly escaped into the forest. The brown-haired child transformed into a bark color. She escaped for a while. Because Émile still maintained the appearance of a human being, he was caught by the police. He was taken to the police station for interrogation. His father rushed to the police station. He lied that his son was just a greedy man who broke into the forest. The police let Émile sign on the document and he could leave. But Émile forgot how to write. The police gave her a new piece of paper. However, Émile, because of the instinct of animal food, showed a public opinion, a reaction indicating a lack of control or humanity. The police were about to shoot, but his father was pushed down in an instant. He fell down on the cabinet and fainted. His father quickly signed on the document. While the other police didn't notice, he took Émile out of the police station. They had to be quick to get away from this place. Émile told his father on the way that he saw his mother in the forest. His father didn't say much after hearing it. He just looked at his son. As long as the lonely middle-aged man is not a wife and son, the two of them talked and laughed all the way. Suddenly, 2 police cars came. Émile knew that he was going to be caught and locked up. "Will you come and see me in the center?" The father promised not to let his son be taken away. He wanted to protect his son for the last time. According to Émile's performance, the father speculated he might turn into a fox or something.
60, ma'am, that's what I got. He began to explain to his son the running speed and survival skills of dogs and animals. Then he rushed with Émile. He was ready to send him back to nature before the police came. Let him be free in the forest and live his own life.